Welcome back, everybody. For the first time, we're actually going to do a react video, and it's going to be a react inception because we're going to react to Hikaru's reaction video of Fabiano's interview with Greg.
React to the react to the react.
Might actually be not the final reaction because it's possible. For sure, but it's possible Hikaru will react to us reacting, to him reacting, to me reacting, to cheating. And we'll see.
We'll have 3-3-3 next reaction.
To preface by saying that, like I'm just trying to clarify parts because I think that we're all on the same team basically. Hikaru and I. We're trying.
This is what's really confusing about this actually is that Fabiano and I are definitely on the same team. I do not think, however, that Kramnik is on the same team. I will say that just straight up. I do think Fabiano and I are definitely on the same team in terms of where we're trying to get with chess, but I do not think that Kramnik is on the same team. Like, I believe that when Fabiano says these things, like, he genuinely does believe them. I don't believe that is true when Kramnik says these things. I think there are other motives or there's another agenda going on, broadly speaking.
Best for chess in general. We both could be wrong about things. We both could be right about things. But just want to clarify because obviously things I say, they're not, I can't always like go into, especially in this interview, I couldn't go into huge detail because he wanted to keep it very light on the cheating because he discussed cheating a lot with Jan. And with me, he just wanted to kind of do like 5 minutes. So I basically just tried to blitz out all my cheating thoughts and I wasn't able to, let's say, give every detail and clarify every thought.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay,
reasonable.
Let's get into it.
And this is where I'll stop for a second as well. I will say though, if chess players are going to be this paranoid, and you think that like people have implants under their skin or things like this, the honest reality is, if you really believe that that's the case, we should all just pack up our bags and go home. And chess should never happen. I mean, professional chess tournaments should never happen again. If you really want to believe that people are going to be doing stuff like implants or otherwise, let's just call it a day. And first things first, like also when I say this, when I say otherwise, I should not have said that, actually, to be clear, because when I say otherwise, then you start talking about too many different things, which could be wrong. I should have cut it off as saying implants and not otherwise, because otherwise can literally mean anything, and that is actually just wrong. Just to be clear, that is just wrong. I should have left it at implants, and that's that, instead of saying otherwise, because otherwise leaves it open to like 20 different interpretations, which probably is what Fabiano is going to say. Not have any professional chess tournaments with money anymore. I really am just going to say that because to me it's very clear that we get to that stage of paranoia where you think people have implants and everything. Like, you've been watching too many spy shows or something, because that's not reality. If you really believe that, then just like, let's just call it a day. Honestly, let's just call it a day, and let's not have professional tournaments ever again. I really do believe that. All
right, so this is the first timestamp. Let's say you were talking about, the tide of turns when we're going to have implants under the skin and we're going to be able to basically check the engine.
I mean, the reason that I repeat myself too much is very straightforward, which is that I'm reading chat at the same time as I'm talking. So like, I'm reading chat at the same time, but also I said the same thing 4 times. I'm aware of that. It's because I'm reading chat at the same time. I just repeated myself a second time there. And so the flow of thought always just gets jumbled up and messed up because someone could say something that takes my train of thought elsewhere. Like someone says, I enjoy the word likewise and salutation. If I read that, and then I'm like, I lose my thought, and then I have to remember what the thought is. So it's not, there is a reason for it, just to be clear.
With that, I can add in, let's say, another perspective. Let's say just, Ray-Bans, for example. They right now have Ray-Bans with cameras attached to them. And you basically get to see what you're doing, what you're seeing with the glasses. I think it's easily implementable that you're going to have at some point Ray-Bans with camera that's not even going to show. You're not even going to be able to know that it's there. So these things are definitely possible. I don't know how many.
Well, okay, I mean, maybe I'll let Christian finish before I say something on that.
Implants under the skin, I think they're already, in fact, doing that, if I'm not mistaken, for payment purposes and things of that nature. So I don't think it's necessarily spy movie stuff. What's your take on it?
So first things first, before Fabiano gets into it, when Christian talks about sunglasses, like, of course what he's saying exists, But that being said, players are not allowed to wear sunglasses. And I think even glasses themselves are generally inspected these days. So it's kind of, I mean, like the other one talking about implants, fine, but talking about Ray-Bans, like sunglasses are flat out banned. You're not allowed to wear sunglasses when you play chess games.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack here. So the reason why I mentioned even implants is because I just mentioned FIDE measures, which include thermal scanners. And the reason I mentioned those is because I know that that's going to be implemented in the candidates, thermal scanners. And I don't know about the risk that someone will actually do any of this stuff. Probably very low, especially at the highest level. Probably close to zero. And I don't even know how realistic it is. But I just mentioned that in terms of what FIDE was trying to protect against. Now, I don't know the technological side of it. I don't know if
none of us do
are a likely thing. I'm pretty sure that smart glasses are not a concern at the moment in the events in which they're protected against, which is, for example, Magnus mentioned the Champions Chess Tour. They had a device which would have detected smart glasses, and they were scanning my glasses.
Okay.
For example. But again, we're talking about chess as a whole, and not all tournaments have measures that could protect against that. So definitely there are some high-tech stuff, we can call it, which would be a concern in, for example, open tournaments, which would be a concern in online tournaments, because of course there's a lot of different types of events, and we are talking about all sorts of chess events, not just the candidates where everyone's on high alert and wants to protect against everything, but also Title Twos. Well, Title Tuesday, we don't even have cameras, but also the Champions Chess Tour events and all the big money online events, and the open events where there's usually no measures.
Hot take to make a joke here, by the way. I want to make a joke here, actually. This is a joke, but hot take. If that's actually the case, Fabiano should not be allowed to play the online tournaments with glasses. No, nobody should. Fabiano shouldn't be allowed to play with glasses. Levon shouldn't be allowed to play with glasses. Nobody's allowed to wear glasses when they play in these serious tournaments online anymore, right? Am I right?
Especially, as you know, American Opens, where you have hundreds of players and basically nothing is really being monitored, and definitely there is a possibility if someone wants to. So then that's where we get into the people have the opportunity, will they actually take advantage of it? And probably the percentage of people that will take advantage of it is very small, but it only takes a few to ruin a tournament. And we have had cases in the past, we know that. So it's not like everyone's fair, and we can't totally run on an honor system. Now, in terms of like the high-tech stuff, spy stuff, and if we get to that point, chess is done. I don't think we're at that point yet, especially in online chess, in over-the-board chess. I think online chess has some very serious obstacles to overcome, and I really want like chess.com and other major websites to overcome those obstacles, because I want chess to be clean, and online chess has hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake. And we'll probably get into that a bit later, but there's a lot of money there.
And I'm going to stop for a second here, and this is where I'm going to add another important point. I agree with Fabiano that he, like when he wants Lead Chess and Chess.com to succeed, I think he means that. I do not believe that that is the case when it comes to Vladimir Kramnik, though. I think he's of the exact opposite mindset, which is he wants to see the world burn down. Not that I need to take jabs, but just to say my little 5-second bit.
I'm also one of the players who's playing, and I don't want to be suspected. So I want there to be no chance that anyone can cheat. I don't want to be suspected, and I don't want to suspect my opponents either. So that's just a little bit about that. But I don't think that chess is done. I mean, this is certainly not the case. We'll definitely
Well, Fabi is saying that chess is not done, but he also said that we're not at that point yet. So I'm not, he said we're not at that point yet. I totally agree with him. But if we do get to that point where things like implants cannot be tracked, or that all these things are a realistic possibility, then I mean, based on the way he's saying, I think he is saying that chess is done. But we're not at that point, and hopefully we never get to that point.
Just have to adapt to the ever increasing possibility that technological advances will allow cheating to be implemented more easily. So at the moment, we might always be a step behind, because of course technology increases, and we have to understand what they might do and then protect against it. But when we understand that what they might do, we're already a step behind them, right? So anyway, those are some of my thoughts about Hikaru's statement here.
No, and I definitely think that directionally we should be moving towards an open discussion about cheating, because obviously cheating is a big problem. And I don't think we can approach it as in, okay, if there is rampant cheating, there's nothing we can do, and basically close shop for professional chess. And I guess what he's talking about professional chess online. I guess this is his address, let's say, because over the board.
No, I'm actually, when I talk about this, I'm not saying online, I'm saying everything. That if people are able, like if things like implants exist where you can't detect implants, I mean, I don't know how you can really hold tournaments online or over the board, because if that's possible, for example, if you look at Fabiano's result, I think in the World Blitz and Rapid, there were 3 games that he played against 2,500 level players, I think it was in the Blitz, that he drew against, if I'm not mistaken. And if you take those 3 games, like if someone could have an implant under their skin and you can't detect it, there's no reason to assume that those games are going to be legitimate over the board either versus online. I think it's a huge issue both ways. The big difference, of course, ultimately, is that when you look at online versus over the board, with online there have been many cases of players having cheated, whereas over the board there are only a handful of cases. You really only have the case, I think, of Igor Zrauzis, Borislav Ivanov, and Sebastian Feller of, like, I mean, I guess Ivanov wasn't GM level, but you have 2 guys who are like 2550, 2600 plus strength who cheated, but those are the only examples of over the board. So I mean, I am referring kind of to everything if we get to that point, but of course hopefully we don't get there.
It's much more difficult, and I guess it's much more complicated to do those things. As you were mentioning, thermal scanners, I would assume those can in fact catch chips under the skin as well. So that's for over the board. I just want
to say one thing, that there is precedent. It's not just the Feller case, it's not just the Ivanov case, which are famous. It's not just the Nigalidze case.
I was going to get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but there's other cases as well, and some of them are more high-tech. It's not just people checking the phone in the bathroom. It's also people who have an ear device and things like that. So
is volume not okay? Is the volume not okay? I think the volume's good, but you guys tell me. I think it's fine.
The fact that I think Hikaru's been a little bit too cavalier in saying that like this is all science fiction. It actually, some of these things have happened. Maybe not like implants, but definitely earpieces, which he doesn't seem to like think is such a huge concern. Well, it actually has happened, and that we know of. Yes. Like it's something has happened that we know of. There might be more cases that we don't know of, but we know that already something.
It's on the low side. Okay. Let me turn it up a little bit more. No, my argument is actually, I mean, I think there are a couple important there are 2 very important distinctions here. The first distinction is, are we talking about top level chess, or are we talking about tournaments in general? Now, Fabiano already alluded to this when he talks about open tournaments. Open tournaments, for example, it's too soft. I'll turn it up a little bit more. Like if you're talking about a random open tournament that just has master level players or international master level players, I feel like any of these things could happen. I'm going to be honest. I think it could happen. But when you're talking about top level events with serious security, where there generally are like live broadcasts and everything else going on, I find it hard to believe that really the risk reward is there to go for it. But I don't know. Like when he talks about earpiece, like I can give you examples. Like if you go back, I remember when I was much younger and I played, I think it was the World Open maybe, or the New York Open. There were tournaments, like I'm gonna say it was already like 20 plus years ago, where people wore a cap and they might have had like an earpiece or things like this. These sorts of things did happen. Like it's not like this hasn't happened. Now I don't know if he's gonna refer to these like really old cases, which of course I am aware of, or if he's talking about something that happened like a GM level at some random open tournament. That's what I want to see if what Fabiano means exactly
for the board chess. And in online chess, of course,
he doesn't though, does he?
Cases of cheating that have been caught. So to say that it's like not really an issue, well, it already has been proven to be an issue.
Again, I get Fabiano's point that he's making here, of course, about it having been proven. I mean, the way I look is I separate. If you're talking about random open tournaments, low level, yeah, he talks about earpiece. This has happened in the past. But at the top level, there are not examples of cheating. So, I mean, that's the distinction that I have. Again, like you can talk about broadly, you can talk about there's so many different layers to the whole thing that's very, very difficult. Especially when like we're reacting to things to explain it that way. Are there legal repercussions for cheating? I don't actually know. I don't know. It's like, because again, I think the case that I remember was something like a hearing aid or something like that was already like a good 20 years ago. But the guy was like, I think the guy was like 1800 or something, and he was playing like a master level or a little bit above that. I could have the ratings wrong, but it was not something happening at the very top level. So like I'm looking at this at the top level. I'm not looking at this as like some open tournament in a random country where there's no security or anything like that whatsoever.
The question is how big of an issue. Like if you told me chess.com catches 100% of cheaters, then I would say it's probably not a big issue. But I would guess more likely that chess.com captures a percentage of cheaters, which is not 100%. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 70, maybe it's 40, but whatever it is, I would guess that they don't catch all of them. I mean, I think that's a pretty safe assumption. And so still we have an issue, right? I mean,
but okay, so here again we have the same problem as before. What is the distinction that Fabiano was making here? Is he talking about title? Is he talking about title players, top level tournaments, or is he talking across the site? Because if you're talking across the site, I fully agree with him. I think there probably are like players who are 1,000 level who are cheating all the time. I feel like there are people who are like 1,500 who will cheat all the time, and chess.com doesn't have the resource to catch them. Nor is it such a big deal for chess.com because obviously it does not affect the bottom line. So this is where it's like what is the distinction? Is he talking about the top level turns, or is he talking literally everyone from like 400 all the way up to 3,200 or 3,300 or whatever it might be, whatever the peak rate, or 3,400, which is where Magnus was? Like, what is the distinction? I'm not saying that it's not a problem, by the way, but like if you're saying that it's a problem, what is the context? Are you talking about across the whole site? Or are you talking about top level prize money events?
Players who can probably cheat undetected. They might have a system to do so. Anyway, that's another point.
Yeah, and in fact, you mentioned Feller and Rousis. He is mentioning this at one point in this reaction video, and let's take a look at that.
Examples, and now it's become this big issue when there have been no examples of people being proven cheating at the top level.
Let's take it a little bit.
Igor's Rousis. Those were the two obvious examples. And now it's become this big issue when there have been no examples of people being proven cheating at the top level. I do repeat a lot here. It's kind of annoying. I do repeat a lot of what's going on here. Now the second part, I'm gonna skip ahead line as it relates to skip ahead to Fabiano's reaction.
First of all, let's address the first part. He's mentioning, as you also mentioned, Feller and the Rousis case, but we also know that there's been more cases than that. One in particular, I think it was this case of the alleged cheater, Borislav Ivanov, if you remember this guy.
The cases that I'm aware of are the following. I'm aware of Rousis, Feller, Nigolidze, Borislav Ivanov, and there was the case of a suspected cheating. There was a German player. I think his name was Falco Bindrich, if I remember correctly. Those are the only like high, like, Ivanov's not a GM, so like I mean, but I'll include him anyway. These are the only 5 cases at like quote unquote like a high level, I would say, like grandmaster level, that I am aware of that involve over the board cheating.
It was a FIDE Master 2200. He got a few GM norms, or at least he was making GM norm performances, and then at some point he got caught and nobody knew how he's doing it. This is at the inception of the anti-cheating measures and things of that nature. And at some point during a tournament in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, he got caught with a device on him, and he was given the option of telling the organizers about the device and continuing the tournament, or just allowing the organizers to cancel him from the tournament but not tell them about the device. He chose the latter. He chose not to disclose anything about the device. So there's been cases where people have been caught.
Also, I just realized there's also that case with the Belgium guy as well that I had forgotten about. But that's it. That's 6. Those are the only 6 that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe there are other cases, but like in recent memory of like the top level, those are the only 6
with physical devices on them.
Yeah. So okay, the first point. Yeah, Feller is a famous case. I just want to explain the case. Is that it wasn't just the Olympiad. But the Olympiad is the famous example where we know that he was cheating. It was also other tournaments for sure, and they had a system which involved multiple people, and basically they had someone who would relay the information to another person who would relay the information. The first person would relay the information over phone text to another person who would relay the information to him via signals. And one important thing to mention is that in some of the games he was cheating, he did actually lose. And in the event, it actually might not have looked like cheating because he lost games, he made mistakes, he played in sort of a human manner, you could say, because they were sort of smart in some ways. They weren't trying to play the computer's first line, which gets you caught because nobody can do that. And if you do something like that, then you sort of remain under the radar. They just got caught because they had too many people involved. It was 3 people, and one of the person's phone text messages got leaked, and it was all and that person was also in the French Chess Federation, and it all got exposed in a very public way, in a way that they couldn't avoid it. But if you don't get exposed like that, like they were actually caught red-handed. If it had only been the moves and the results, he would have never been caught, ever. Because his games did not prove anything, his results did not prove anything. He was a strong grandmaster who became a bit stronger, but he didn't perform at like 2,900 in the Olympiad. He performed like 2,700. He was 2,640. I mean, it wasn't even.
It was close. It was close. Yeah.
This is one thing I'm saying. The other thing is, of course, Ivanov is a famous case of a more sophisticated sort of system. He wasn't looking at his phone, and he wasn't using a second person, as far as I know. He had some sort of device on him, and eventually he was banned. And also, the guy was like a serial sort of thief crook. I mean, he got arrested. He got put in prison for some sort of like fraud or something.
Yeah.
So okay, that's another thing. Also, Ivanov was easier because the guy wasn't like very good compared to, let's say, Feller or Grandmaster. Nikolidze was another case, but
I mean, I would say that generally I agree with Fabi on this point. There is one thing though that I do remember, which is I actually played in the French Team Championship around this time on a team with Maxime and I believe Sebastian Feller. I think it was this team called Evry in the French Championship, and I do remember seeing Feller's rating go up quite a bit. And I think like in both, like Feller's rating I think was something like 2,600, and then it did gap up to like 2,640 or 2,650. I could be wrong on that, but I seem to recall that his rating did go up pretty quickly. And with Rouse, this is the same kind of thing, where with Rouse, even if the moves didn't necessarily say anything, the rating performance of how his rating went up kind of was very telling in that case.
Okay, he was a grandmaster, but he got caught with his phone.
Still, he's right fundamentally. That yes, these people went over
Rouse
the top.
Also got caught with his phone. This is like stupid cheating. There was one Indian guy who had an accomplice and an earpiece, and was caught because the guy basically was not a good chess player, and his results were just too good, and he was just playing the first line. So his way of cheating was sort of smart, but he was just playing the first line because he didn't understand anything about chess, and he went from 1,900 to 2,500. And
I think he also wore a cap too, by the way. I think he wore a cap.
But that was an earpiece. Now imagine if it's not a 1,900 but a 2,500, and it's not over the board but it's online, and that 2,500 suddenly becomes 2,600. And this actually goes into Hikaru's second point, which is, why would someone cheat? I think Hikaru's mistake here is that he's thinking about it from his own perspective, which is that he is one of the best players in the world, and he doesn't have to cheat to get very good results. And so he's thinking about it like, I have a lot to lose, I have nothing to gain, so of course I'm not going to cheat, and he's portraying that onto everyone else. And the reality, as far as I can tell, and I think
I have to wait to see what he says here.
Kind of personal data to draw upon in this is that a lot of people cheat for a lot of different reasons. It's not just to make $1 million or to become the best player in the world. Some players cheat because they want to make a bit of money but remain under the radar. They boost their results somewhat, they make some money, but they don't make enough money that they're standing out tremendously.
That's right.
Some players cheat very spontaneously because they don't like to lose. Nobody likes to lose, and some players just can't handle it and they cheat. Everyone who's played on ICC back in the day knows that playing for absolutely nothing, you will encounter some cheaters. Absolutely nothing.
Again, the problem is, like, I wish Fabi would clarify. I wish he would clarify what he's referring to. Like, because the thing is he talking about random terms? Is he talking about Title Tuesday? Like, what is he talking about? That's what I can't. That's what I don't. That's the problem that I have with this, is that I can't tell what he's talking about. He's absolutely right. Everyone who played on the Internet Chess Club, yes, you play some random guy online, they cheat against you. Heck, I can give you a specific example. I played a game. I played a game when I was at the Chess Champions Tour online on chess.com, and I noticed that my rating was reset the next day from like 3200 3216. So like I played a random blitz game and someone cheated against me in it during the Champions Chess Tour. So yes, of course it does happen. I don't know. It's like you have to take it at like point by point, because like the thing that I feel like the big point that everyone's looking at is not actually generally speaking. I feel like what everyone's really focused on right now is Title Tuesday and prize money events. That's what seems to be the issue. Like, yes, I mean, of course there are people cheating at the 1000 level, people cheating across all different levels for this reason and the other reason. But when I talk about people cheating, I am referring specifically to Title Tuesday. I'm referring to Title Tuesday, Chess Champions Tour, the big prize money events. I'm not talking broadly speaking. But let's keep going.
For like rating points that are completely meaningless that nobody looks at.
He's gonna say it later.
Prize
okay.
Money, not even bragging rights usually, and people still cheat.
Yeah, of
and
course.
This is not just in chess, but you play any sort of mobile game, you'll understand that people cheat.
No, of course he's right. 100% he's right. 100%.
Because it's just kind of human nature to really want to win, and very often to do whatever you can for that. And okay, so when it comes to like people cheating in meaningless chess.com games,
okay, here we go.
Obviously, this happens. Anyone who's watching this video, if you play on chess.com, you will every once in a while get a message: "We caught one of your opponents cheating. Your points are refunded."
Yep.
And so on. I promise you, those people, they have no reason to cheat, according to Hikaru, but they still do.
Wrong. Wrong for the basic reason that I'm talking about prize money events. I'm not talking generally. That's the thing. I'm not talking generally. I'm talking about Title Tuesday, Champions Chess Tour, I guess you could say Arena Kings, tournaments that have prize money. I'm not talking about the whole across the board. I'm talking only about the money that have, or the tournaments that have prize money in them. That's the thing. And of course, it's going to be very hard because, like, unless we're talking directly to each other, you're not. It's like hard to know exactly what the context is. But when I talk about cheating, I'm referring to the whole cramming thing about Title Tuesday, Arena Kings prize money events, and going for the Gukesh blundered. Wait, what? Gukesh blundered. Whatever. We'll get to that later. But I'm talking very specifically about the prize money events on chess.com, not the whole thing across the board. Let's keep going.
Prize money for nothing, just because they want to win. And that's one thing. That's not really a problem. Like, okay, it's not for money, not really for big results or anything. But the players who do that in Title Tuesday, they do mess up the tournament, even if they don't win prize money. But they do exist. A lot of players who are willing to cheat, but they don't win any prize money. And it's not so uncommon. And I don't even think it's so strange. It's just so.
I mean, I agree with Fabiano 100%. Actually, I think one of the biggest things that I wish chess.com had done years ago that they haven't done is I really, really wish that chess.com had fixed their system. So like if someone cheats against you in round 3 and you lose the game or something. So like if someone cheats against you in round 3 and you lose the game, is they have a way to reset the standings to before that happened and manually change the result. I think that's one of the things that really disappoints me about chess.com is they never implemented that. I mean, I feel like even like 5 or 6 years ago, I mentioned that to them, that they should have a way to reset the table so you can manually change the result. Like, let's just say, here's a hypothetical example. Say it's round 4, okay? A Title Tuesday round 4. You make a mistake, you lose the game, and they're on the 6-minute break. I wish chess.com had a way to go back and freeze the standings going into the round and then manually change that one pairing if someone cheated. I really wish they had a way to do that. Again, I'm not a tech guy. Maybe that's not possible to do, and obviously they have their own system and whatnot. But I agree with Fabiano that when that happens, they can kick the cheater out. But if you're the guy they cheat against, you're like, okay, but you lost the game, you lose your chance to win money. That's how it goes.
A facet of human nature.
Yeah.
And then there is the even more serious thing, which is players who are already very strong and they boost their results to make the occasional 100 here and there and 1,000 here and there, and eventually they make like 8 grand or something, let's say,
or more. Very often more.
Again, the sky is often the limit. It really depends on the strength of the player and how willing they are to push it. But certainly there are players who you might not even notice so much. There are even players who I've never even heard their names before, but when I was looking at the list of like small prize money wins, I noticed some players, like some 2450 guy who won a few hundred. I'm not saying that player was cheating or just got lucky in a few events here and there. Either are possible, but certainly there's some money at stake, and it's nice to win a few $100 and it'll make people feel good. And there is some incentive there. You can't tell me that there's not. So that's the other point.
Yeah. Again, let's continue with Hikaru's reaction. Now, a moment where he...
Now, also what it sounds like what Fabiano is saying here is Fabiano is saying that Fabiano is essentially saying that if I again, I can't put words in his mouth, but it sounds like he's essentially saying that they're players who are above, who are like strong-ish grandmaster level, who are basically, they're finishing the prize money, but they're making sure not to win. They're like basically making sure that they don't stand out too much. And that's what that's like. He has suspicions. I mean, I think it's very clear who he's talking about when he says that. But it seems to me that that's essentially what he's saying. Is he's saying that they're players who like they make sure to finish in the money, but they don't finish at the very top.